Recreation Committee meeting, April the 8th, 2008. It's called to order, and we have Councilman Todd Lambert absent, and Councilman George Valentine absent. Okay, can I get a invocation by Reverend Chapman?
Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come out tonight, Lord, asking you to give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding with each other. And Father, we just thank you that this meeting will go as we want it to go in your name. And Father, we give you all the glory and all the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone that have public comment periods, you would fill out the form and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay. Moving on to item 4, Ascension Baseball Association, and we're going to have the president of the ABA, and that's Mr. Brad Thompson.
Brad's not here.
Will you speak on behalf of him? Yes. Mr. Darren Trahan.
Be glad to.
All right.
Good afternoon. Come here with good news. Since our last meeting, it's going to be a pleasure to say we've seen positive action by administration, and a lot of things have improved in 27 days. Kids are out there playing ball. The season has started. Field's looking green, being maintained. Matter of fact, I believe we had a few representatives come out and throw the first pitch on 3 fields last night. So it was really, really good to see that. Still have some work to be done. I think we'll all agree on that. And appreciate the improvement, the commitment, and look forward to the continuation of that. Couple of issues that are still outstanding, looking for resolution on. The first being the discussion of the monies to be returned to ABA. If we had any movement on that or any inside guidance that can be shared tonight, be appreciated.
I can inform you we're going to executive session tonight on that matter.
Okay.
So we should be having a result on it.
Excellent. Officials. We've pretty much had officials at every game. It's been very well received, I believe, by the participants. And so far, everything looks like it's getting on track and moving in the right direction. Like I said, I promised in the last meeting if it happened, I'd be the first one to come here and sing the praises of the improvement, and that's what I'm here tonight to do. So all I can say is all involved, good job, keep it up. Let's keep moving this parish forward to the positive. Okay?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Train.
Discussion, Mr. Chairman? Just wanted to say thank you for coming up here. It's not often we get to hear a lot of people coming for the good news instead of complaints and everything. So thank you for that, and I just wanted to thank the parish president and Sherry Kinchin and Garney Gotro and the recreation department for all their efforts over the last month to rectifying that situation, and really appreciate that. Thanks.
Any other comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the parish president, too, taking the bull by the horns and getting the job done. And Garney and Ms. Kinchin and everyone else, job well done.
Anyway, I'd like to just repeat all that. And once again, it was a team effort, and it might have been difficult at some time, but at least we're going in the right direction. And once again, I have to give parish president and administration for that, taking the leadership in that role. Okay? Any other one? This gentleman, Mr. Todd Lambert, is him. Item number 5, And that's Recreation Report by Director Sharon Kenton.
Good evening, Councilman Joseph and members of the Recreation Committee. You should have in your packet my Recreation Department report. You can see at the beginning it's general upkeep and maintenance of parks, cutting the grass, weed eating, spraying, cleaning the bathrooms, and stocking it with product for the games and for the public. Spring sports registration numbers and fees. You can see there baseball registered 903 players, softball 577, and t-ball 420 players, with the amount of money that's due. Still waiting on those fees. We currently have 40-plus umpires, and I think you just heard Darren say all the fields were manned. Everything went well. Fields looked great. We continue to register the umpires. Anyone that's interested should call or come by the Recreation Department. On Saturday, this past Saturday, April 5th, Mr. Frank Stevens came out and held an umpire training. It was very well received, and we will be holding those again in a couple of weeks as we sign new umpires. Next item, you can see the bucket truck. Altec is the low bidder for the truck. I think that will be going to the council for acceptance or confirmation. Apple, Ascension Parish Inclusion League. This past Saturday, we were very fortunate to have LSU player Glenn Dorsey come out, very gracious, came out in his big, beautiful white new Hummer, and we took as many pictures of the kids with the Hummer as we took with Glenn Dorsey. He initially was just going to hang around for a little while, but I think that he was enjoying himself as much as the kids, so he stayed almost 3 hours and signed everything that everybody brought to him, literally everything. We had one mom who brought a play sheet from EA when Glenn Dorsey was there, and he was really excited to have that. So we were really pleased and proud to have him there. You will also see under Apple that Ascension Parish will be holding an education session at the 2008 Congress in Baltimore. Dr. Mandel, Betsy Baldwin, and myself will be making that presentation, and people will be receiving credit for going to our education session. So I encourage you again, if you're interested in the NRPA, to check the website and make sure that you register, especially for your room, as those go fast. We also are, we've ordered some plexiglass to put at all the parks, to put our registered sex offenders out in the parks where people can actually see those pictures as opposed to in our trailer. So hopefully that will assist with that effort. Tennis courts at Galvez Middle. We have taken the basketball goals down, and the construction of the tennis courts has begun, so there will be a public tennis court at Galvez Middle, hopefully within the next 60 days. Youth Legacy Park, the walking trail has been completed, and that was through the Recreational Trails Grant. Benches and disc golf goals will be moved over the next 60 days to complete that 9-hole course. The Disc Golf Association is going to come out and actually plot the course and plant the tee boxes for us. They will also be helping us with Cotton Bayou. Oak Grove, Lester Kenyon and I will be visiting the site tomorrow. Councilman Lohr, Mr. Garney, Gotro, and I met to discuss the renovations to the park, and we will be adding a playground, privacy fencing, and a bathroom that's accessible to the outside. And we are making sure that we address the LWCF and ADA issues. We have also, Ascension Parish has received the bid for the 2009 LRPA State Convention. Holiday Inn will be our base, and the Lamar Dixon Expo Center will house the conference itself. We will be host to the recreation departments for 64 parishes across the state, and as that information comes in, we will keep you posted. That is the recreation report. Questions?
All right. Let's see, Mr. President, have a couple comments.
I got a favor to ask, that's all. Mr. Oliver and I have been talking, and we need to promulgate some rules and regulations on all our sports, and I'd like to ask this committee to create a subcommittee with one of the members being from the Recreation Committee, and maybe a member from, we'll deal with baseball first, someone from AYBA, Ms. Kinchin and Ms. Manda, and myself. It can be ex officio or whatever, and we'll start drafting some things, some agreements, and then we'll bring them back to this board. and start putting things where they need. We've got different rules and regulations scattered all over. Some of them obsolete at this point, but I think we need to bring everything together, put together a plan. We did say we were going to meet with baseball after the season, and we could work a meeting out. Brad, if y'all could pick a representative that we could deal with, and we'll start negotiating and look ahead so we won't end up with any problems next year. It's not only baseball. We can do the same thing for basketball and any other sports that we that we have that we have the children in the parish and the people of the parish participate in. So if you would do me a favor, and doesn't matter, whoever y'all want to appoint from the Recreation Committee to that subcommittee, or create that subcommittee if y'all would as an advisory to this committee. Doesn't even have to be called a committee, just a group if you want to meet.
Okay. So, Tommy, if I can ask you real quick, so that the goal is to formalize whose responsibilities and define who's
you got different things, different places. There's some ordinances that's been passed by the council. We've got our in the code of ordinances. We got rules for the fields, and a lot of that stuff's old, and we need to update it. And Mr. Oliver likes everything in black and white, so we want to adhere to his wishes. And
I appreciate that.
And
Mr. President.
we want certainly participation from whomever. And again, we'll start with baseball, so next year we'll be this far ahead of the curve, and maybe we can get everything settled and move on. And then you'll have everything in black and white.
Yes, sir. And I would like to just update you on that, and that's just come down, just to bring you up to speed on that, is that we have baseball fields, we have parks and everything. We do have basic rules, and there one no alcohol, the time it goes out and everything. But we do not have a lot of rules that where if baseball have tournaments or whoever, and they leave the lights on, we don't have rules what they should do and what they shouldn't do that we are, have it in front of us. Just like last month, we was debating who's responsible for what, but what rules or what regulation actually had that in front of us to debate that with them, because we've been going over things just strictly by hearsay and what we have done in the past, and I recommended to the parish president that we need to formalize some rules and policy and responsibility in writing, so everyone would know that, so they would know the procedures for everything, and we can put that on the website and everything else. So in essence, that's where I like to see where we're going with recreation for as all parks, baseball, basketball, and they're set forward for all of them.
Would you like to name somebody, and I'm going to ask that Ms. Manda, Ms. Kinchin, myself, and one representative, and then one representative from baseball at this time, and then we'll bring in basketball or whatever next, and by the time basketball season gets here, we'll have everything.
I would recommend that we can get basketball on board so we can get the insight, this committee can get an insight across the board, and we can also put in Miss Jonette on that board, and one councilman, and whoever want to volunteer first. I always ask for volunteers from the councilman who would have the time. I have no volunteers.
Nominate Mr. Joseph for that.
I don't think so, because I'm the chairman of it. I will be sitting on those meetings anyway. Mr. George Valentine, I appreciate you volunteers on that. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Okay, we'll set up a meeting schedule. I mean, I don't think we'll hopefully be more than maybe 2, 3, 4 meetings at the most, somewhere in that vicinity, and get all this straight. So we'll try to work around your schedules as best we can. Mr. Valentine, if you just get with us and let us know what days you're available, and if you let us know who the representative is from baseball, and what days they don't. I'm sure it's going to be a coach, so what days they don't have games, we can go around. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Any questions for Ms. Cheryl Kinchin? I have 2 of them, but anybody else have any questions for her? One of them, Ms. Sharon Kinchin, is the umpires.
Yes, sir.
We saying we're looking good right now. We don't have a problem. We paying them enough. Everything look good on those. All right. Okay. The
Mr.
next.
Garney? Yeah, we've been out there and we've counted. We're counting those light blue shirts, and they're showing up. So and we
Okay.
continue to register. So we're excited about that.
All right. My next question is the bucket truck. Okay. I just came out of a little committee meeting. I mean, a little meeting with finance and everything. My question is to you on the bucket truck. Have we allocated the funds for this bucket truck?
Yes, sir. I've moved money to cover my portion, and Bob Turner has moved money to cover his portion. Other than that, I guess finance would be the one to tell you whether we have the money or not.
Okay. Miss Gwen, have you?
Did you sign it? Okay. The process is once the department head puts in a request to move money from one line item to another within a department, it's left up to the parish president to approve or disapprove. I don't think we've quite gone through the process yet, but I know that Mr. Turner has use for the bucket truck also, so he agreed to put up the balance of the funding from his department. Ms. Kinchin is moving it from site work at Parks.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
So funding should be available if the president chooses to approve that transfer.
And that would also come to the finance?
Right.
Okay.
Well, in fact, I don't know, did you say it was on the council committee?
My understanding, my understanding was that, the bids were opened and that the next step was to get approval and then to go to the full council to accept or deny the bid.
Okay. Finance?
Well, until we, get the new processes in place
Okay.
like we talked about, we'll proceed as a current process.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank you.
Item number 6, that's West Ascension Recreation Contract. You do have a copy of it in front of you. They did have some changes, and I'm going to have to ask the attorney, Ms. Lindsay, did we get our copy signed from the mayor yet?
No, I spoke with Mr. Chuck Long this afternoon, and he said he can get that to us, but we don't have it in our possession yet.
Okay. All right. And we've been working on this contract, and it's really make everything accountable. The bottom line is accountability, and this contract, compared to the old one, definitely make everyone responsible and accountable for every dollar spent in recreation on the west side of the river. Any question?
Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, what are the major differences between this agreement and the one that we had signed previously? Or are they too numerous to name?
It's too numerous to name. Accountability is the inventory of assets, buying of assets, the way they did everything. Base of the contract, the 60-40% of it is the same, but the accountability, who the assets belongs to, and what responsibility does the commission, the West Ascension Recreation Commission, have? Before it was very vague. Now it's specific guidelines in here what they need to do or what they are responsible for. So before it was a 2-page loan with the responsibility very vague. This way here, it definitely goes in depth with the city of Downsonville and the parish what the responsibility is. And in this contract, the key thing is if they violate any of these responsibilities, the parish have the responsibility, responsibility to cancel this contract at any time. Before, it was not like that. It was just on an annual, yearly contract.
Okay. I guess, refresh my memory. The commission is made up of appointees from the 3 West Side councilmen?
Correct.
You each have one appointment.
Yes, sir.
The city council has an appointment,
Yes, sir.
and mayor has one?
Yes, sir. Now, that's different compared to the old agreement.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, so the committee consists of 5 people, or is it more?
5. And
5
we
people.
also, in this contract here, we also put Ms. Cheryl Kincher in here as a ex officio, which was not in there before. It used to be an original one, the first agreement it had in 2002, and then they took that off, but we put that in, we installed that in it this time.
I just saw this, so I just thumbed through it. I hadn't had a chance to really read it.
And
I noticed that on the B obligations of Parish Ascension, A, it says Ascension Parish agrees to place $50,000 of the total funds designated to the commission. That would be part of our 10%. $50,000 of the 10% of our recreation budget, which goes to the. So 50 is included.
it's included to
That's
that.
not extra.
That's not
But we're stipulating in here that it has to go to capital outlay, to development of a West Ascension Parish Park.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's not something we've done before.
No, sir, because before, and great point, what it was is before they didn't have any capital outlay plan on anything for the park or outside. Before they didn't have a budget. This here Pacific acts for those things, so they cannot just spend the money without justification on improving programs on the west side.
Right.
And in this contract also stipulate that they have to implement new programs besides baseball and basketball.
Okay.
Before it was just strictly those. This way here, they have to go out in the community and ask for more programs.
So are we operating under the old one until we get this new one in place?
This new
Obviously.
one, no, this new one will react to the January 1st. So we currently, right now, the old one is inactive. This one here will go back to the
Right. In other words, once we
be inactive.
and I guess my point is, are you asking us to vote on this tonight?
Yes, sir. You already had the copies of it a month ago. This is the same agreement.
Is it the same one?
It's the same one. The only thing
Because we put off 2 or 3 times. I just want to make sure.
No, it's
because I don't have my old one with me to compare it. That's what my
All right.
point is. I want to
and
make
if
sure.
Miss Lindsay, the only thing that did change in this thing that we asked on the first time was the 20%, the $20,000 that we asked the city to put in capital layout plan, and they asked to put it back in their regular budget, so they don't have a capital outlay plan inside the city. So all their funds is part of this West Ascension Recreation, and that's the only thing that really was a major change in the contract.
Okay.
Other than that, everything else the same.
Okay, that's all.
Yes, Mr. Law.
What exactly is the city's obligation in terms of funding?
$66,000 is their obligation for recreation.
And ours is 10% of the annual recreation budget, which is
About $129,000 this year. Ours, if you're asking the question, yes, the parish won't increase, the city one have not increased over the last 5 years. It's always been $66,000. Mr. Todd.
Okay, Mr. Joseph, capital outlay. Explain a little bit where you don't really know where they're putting this capital outlay money at.
But in this
The
agreement
new
right
park or the existing parks that are all located in the city of Donaldsonville, not in the parish?
here, the $50,000, which the part of the parish funds, is only can go into parish facilities.
Okay.
Capital layout. And I'm just currently, District 3
That's
have
good.
a park, District 2 have a park.
That's what I want to understand.
Right, and District 1 does not have one.
Okay.
And so in order to do that, over the last couple of years, they did not put nothing in capital layout. This is basically forcing their hand to
put it
do,
there.
Right.
Good.
And using the existing funds that the parish is giving them.
And the contract has been issued to the commission on the West Bank in approval?
The council had approved it last, about 2 weeks ago, based on that change of the $20,000.
And everybody's in agreement?
And everybody's in agreement, and the mayor should sign it any day now. And so I'm asking for it to go to full council.
Now, I'm not only talking about the mayor, I'm talking about the West Recreation Committee. Are they in favor of this contract?
This here right here redefined the recreation commission, because before, the way it was, that the parish provided one member and the city provided one member, and then the recreation. It had association before. They put 3 people on it. where now, because the only parties that's putting money into this program is the city and the parish, the board is defined as city appointed and the parish appointed, councilman appointed. So they're represented by each district and the city.
All right.
Yes, Mr. Lord.
Can I ask why the city of Nelsonville's contribution hasn't increased over the last 5 years when ours has continued to go up?
Mr. Lord, that's a good question, and that is the agreement that we've been having for the longest. I couldn't answer that question. I mean, that's his agreement, and unless I see the parish president over there.
Well,
I'll ask a question.
Well, one of the reasons is because we give 10%. So as our budget increases, it increases.
Oh, sure. I
Okay,
understand.
That's
I
the obvious
understand our
part.
part. I'm just wondering
Okay,
why.
the fact that we haven't negotiated with Donaldsonville to increase theirs because I'm sure their sales tax has increased also, which they should be bringing in more revenue and should commit to dedicate more of their funds to the commission. That's why I'm not hesitant to agree with this, but I am hesitant to nitpick it to death so that Mayor Sullivan, a good friend of mine, would decide that he might want to up that a little bit.
And Mr. Valentine, Mr. Lord, I mean, we definitely can look at that in October, because that is an issue. I mean, we're putting double the amount.
It should be percentage based, but
Right.
Yeah.
If they increase, they should increase. And that's something we should look at in October when we renew this contract.
The problem is, City of Gonzales may come looking at us for something too.
Well taken there, Mr. Any other question? Mr. President.
So did you abolish the other board and reappoint this new board? Is that what you've done? Have you done that yet?
Based on the board members on that board currently right now is all expired.
So,
That we
so you don't
understand.
have a board right now?
Not that, I mean, they have a board, but those times have expired.
So,
Not-
but
Maybe one member or two members. That's
so
all.
did the parish council create this board, or? 'Cause
This,
I'm just trying to get to the point, because who's abolishing it?
Well,
we're not abolishing the board. We're just changing.
Composition.
That's it.
Okay.
That's all. We're not abolishing the commission. We're only changing the way we appoint the members to.
So you hadn't appointed those people yet?
No, until this
Okay.
agreement is signed,
Okay.
that's when those board members can be appointed.
I got you.
and
Mr. Valentine.
that would be a question for Ms. Manda. Ms. Manda, have you researched this at all? As far as the
I'm sorry.
commission, the commission had to be created by ordinance.
The commission was created by both the city council and the parish council. Yes.
By ordinance? Do you know?
I haven't seen the ordinance, but I would imagine if it's an autonomous board, yes, it would have been created by ordinance.
Okay, so then the ordinance probably stipulates who the members are and what have you. So if we do change that,
We'll have to
we're
amend the
going to have to amend
ordinance.
the ordinance.
And I can certainly
I think
look
it's where
into
the
that.
parish president is going, and that you can't do it by an intergovernmental agreement or contract with the city, except you're going to have to go back and change the ordinance, and I'm not sure what they accepted. So we need to really research that before we put something in place. And I understand. That's why I asked you what we were operating under now. I
Well,
mean, who's watching the hen house here? I mean, now
Currently,
we don't have anybody. I understand.
Currently, because that contract was terminated, and this was the working process right here. But according to the old contract, it was agreed on. The contract was written just like this in
Right.
the contract, the government agreement.
I understand.
And you're correct. I don't know if it was created by
But
order.
per the charter and what have you, I'm sure there are some legal matters that we'll have to meet before we create that correctly. So Ms. Manning would need to, if you want to try to approve this, we're going to have to approve this with stipulations based on legal.
And I
that
can
it has to
email
be
you all
fulfilled.
tomorrow with
Okay.
what I find.
That shouldn't be up.
Yeah. Okay, can I get a motion? I can't do it.
I make that motion with pending legals, research, and make sure everything's where it needs to be.
Okay. Second. All right, I got a motion on the floor by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr.
Cullen.
Collins. Thank you very much there, Mr. Collins. You're always quiet down there, Mr. Collins. Any question on the motion?
Miss, I'm sorry, she's waving. She's.
Can I just ask a question real quick?
Yes, ma'am.
I guess my only question would be, as this contract has lapsed since January, is somebody taking care of the parks?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I mean, if we needed to, we can shift until you get
No,
this,
ma'am.
but I just want to
They've
make
been-
sure that they're cutting and they're, okay.
As far as I
So
know,
we
they've
were
been.
operating without an
I haven't got any
agreement.
phone
I will
calls.
notice. Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion on the floor. Anyone have any objection? Motion passed. Item number 7, recreation survey for a master plan, and I have Ms. Jonette.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was asked to contact Leisure Vision, which is the company that did the survey for BREC, to get some cost estimates from them to perform a telephone survey here in Ascension Parish regarding the desires of the citizens, what they'd like to see in programs, facilities, etc. I need to go ahead and pass these two. Here's something for Mr. Lambert, Mr. Valentine. Leisure Vision furnished me with an emailed quote. You do have a brochure that gives you information on the company in your packet. The emailed quote outlines 2 different scenarios. The first scenario is a 4-page survey. The second scenario involves administering a 6-page survey. The copy of the survey I emailed y'all from BREC is a 6-page survey. It is a very comprehensive survey. It's very granular. It's very detailed, and it will leave very little probably to the imagination with regard to what it is people are going to want. So if you take a look at the quote, the 6-page survey is what Ron Vine with Leisure Vision is recommending. Y'all are going to need to make that decision if you think that that is the most prudent way to proceed if we were to go with Leisure Vision. In addition, I also contacted a company, Percy & Company, a marketing research firm out of Baton Rouge. They furnished a proposal as well. I was interested in, kind of a cost comparison, a check to make sure that, things weren't looking way out of whack. And if you notice on page 4, they provided a statement of fees. Percy & Company quoted 2 different scenarios. The first scenario was a telephone survey. Both Leisure Vision and Percy & Company quoted on 300 completed surveys. Percy & Company also quoted on more than that. But you can see that the quotes for the telephone survey at a sample of 300 on page 4 up at the top. Percy & Company also threw out another alternative to a telephone survey. This would be a door-to-door survey. Percy & Company was a little concerned about the lists that were included in the survey that was done for BREC. Again, it was very comprehensive, and there are a lot of lists that people have to provide rankings on. They felt it might be difficult to do that over the telephone, and so they provided another option, this door-to-door methodology. You'll see the quote for that on page 4 as well, with 300 completed surveys down at the bottom. What they suggested they would do in this scenario is to get some LSU students to actually travel around the parish. They would not operate from a list. They would operate from a map. The gentleman, Mr. Adrian Percy, indicated that they would select neighborhoods and say we need to get 10 surveys completed in this neighborhood, X many in this neighborhood. That's kind of the way that would work. I did follow up with Leisure Vision after Mr. Percy indicated he had some concerns about the length of the survey, to give them an opportunity to express any like concerns, and what I heard from them was they had absolutely no problem whatsoever with doing this type of survey on the telephone, that they've done it before, they do it all the time, and they had no concerns about it, about the length whatsoever on the telephone. So the quotes are in front of you. Basically, Leisure Vision for 300 completed surveys on the phone, $9,900. Percy and Company for 300 completed surveys over the phone, $12,300. Percy and Company's door-to-door methodology for 300 completed surveys, $10,100.
Mr. Chris Law.
John, when your discussions with Percy and Company on the door-to-door stuff, have they ever done anything like, besides going just randomly to somebody's, knocking on somebody's door, like going to ball fields and things where games are going on, or daycare centers or something? There's traditionally a lot of parents with kids and everything.
He did not mention that specifically with regard to this survey. I know that Breck did do a youth survey, okay, and I sent that to y'all as well. I think the youth survey that they did, that would be outside of this project. That kind of youth survey would be outside of it. I don't think they'd have a problem going to a ballpark and doing it there if that's what y'all wanted them to do. But he did not specifically say that would be, what he envisioned in his discussions with me was driving around down the streets and going up to the doors and knocking on the doors. And this would be, I think, on the weekend is what he'd said. He outlined it in here a little bit more, but on the weekend or in the evenings, a door-to-door, little door-to-door. But I'm sure if you want to discuss that with him, he'd be happy to discuss it with you.
Just a comment. I think you'd probably get a better overall basis by a random selection, because one of the things that make evolve out of this is the fact that you need X number of dollars, and everybody in the parish pays X number of dollars. They pay the taxes. So you want to get a broad spectrum of the ideas and needs across the parish. So that's why I don't think you want to single in on any sport. Otherwise, we'll have to go to the soccer field too. Different scenarios. So I think it's a good idea. I don't know what administration, if administration has had time to talk about it. Maybe Ms. Kinchin has some.
I haven't seen any of the quotes. I just got the brochures. So if you get them to me, one thing.
Yeah, we might want to supply it to Tommy and let administration look at it before we decide for sure.
Yeah. One thing, 300 sample. I don't know how accurate that would be in a parish our size. Do you?
Yes, sir. They did provide me with those figures. If you look on the email here, and I will get these to y'all. We'll email. I know you probably want them as well, Sherry. I'll send them to both of y'all. This is a 95% level of confidence, plus or minus 5.8%.
Okay, margin error 6%.
Yeah.
Okay, which it's okay in a survey type deal, and what we generally found, all of us, I think, at some time or other dealt with polls, and basically this is what this is a telephone poll that. Anytime I've ever asked in any poll I've run a lot because I've ran a lot of times. Anytime I asked about recreation and programs, everybody's for it. But then you say, would you be willing to pay a 10 mil property tax? Then that level of confidence goes down. Everybody wants it, but when you get down to it's about 65, 70% will agree with everything that you say. But if you say a 10 mil property tax, that drops down to about 45 to 50%. That would be in favor of. So, you have to attach, when you ask these questions, if we go with this, you have to attach those type of questions too when you do it. We're going to find out what they want, but then we got to figure out if they're willing to pay for what they want. So, and okay.
I'll also send to you the survey that they did for Breck. They have those questions in there, and they're golden. I mean, oh yeah, they're definitely in there. They're in there.
Okay.
Is it possible to contract with both companies in terms of like door-to-door, do a sample of 300 door-to-door and then do the phone survey?
That would be up to y'all.
$3,600 for the 300 for door-to-door. I mean, I personally think we should do we should do both, the phone survey and door-to-door, random door-to-door, because a lot of people don't have phones. A lot of people don't want to answer their phones, and I want to make it as statistically valid as possible.
Okay.
Mr. Finance Chairman, just remember.
My next question.
Charge of $1.
My next question was where the money's coming from. I was going to ask Ms. Kinchin if it was coming from her budget.
I just wanted to echo both Councilman Valentine and Councilman Lohr's comments about the validity of this kind of research. The reason you don't go to ballparks or gyms or swimming pools is because obviously you're going to get skewed results. So whatever company you decide to go with, keep in mind we're already short-funded, but keep in mind whoever you choose, those statistics or your findings should be repeatable. So I would encourage you to stay away from any kind of activity that is organized, because obviously if you go to a gym where they're playing basketball, you're going to get a skewed result. So I would just remind you that whoever you choose, make sure that you're going to get a valid, reliable survey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chairman. Ms. Judd, I guess the question is now to get the information to the parish president, and we need to figure out where we're going to get the dollars from. And
Bring it back up to the next meeting.
right.
I'd move we take this under advisement until the administration has a chance to review it. Possibly they could come back with some ideas on how we could fund this, if possible, and see what our limits are. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd just like to also, and just reading the research and everything else, did you have an opportunity to see if one of them would like to come to our meeting? Right. And then we can ask some questions just off the bat.
Adrian Percy said he would be more than happy to attend the meeting. Now, Ron Vine he is not inside the state. With Leisure Vision, I could contact him and ask if he'd be willing to come. But I know that Adrian Percy has already said that he'd be happy to come and answer any questions y'all might have.
Okay. And that's what I'd like to see if we can get them to the next meeting while the administration look at it. If any question they have, to ask them.
Okay.
Maybe Leisure Vision could come for a conference call.
How can we, Pam was mentioning perhaps a conference call with Leisure Vision. I don't know if that's something that we can do in a...
We can let the administration, they can hold that with their group, a conference call, and they can come back and have a conference call with Legion Vision, because they are the state there, Mr. President.
If they can't make it to the Recreation Committee meeting, Pam suggested that perhaps if you had questions for Leisure Vision that you could do a conference call with them and they would be able to answer your questions. But, I don't mind calling them and asking them to come. I can do that.
How many questions?
I'm going to email you the survey, the 6-page survey they did in Baton Rouge. I think y'all are all going to see that there's probably a whole lot we can use rather than reinventing the wheel. And you'll get a real good flavor. Look, of course, we would tweak and make it more specific to our needs, but I think you'll have a good idea after looking that survey over what the potential is there. And I'll be happy to send that as well along.
But one of the, if you got a number of questions, a lot of times they'll charge you more. The more questions that you ask, of course, that's the way it works. So, this 12 for whatever the proposal is, I'd like to know, is that specific number of questions listed in that proposal for that X amount of dollars?
They spell it out for you in the proposals. What Leisure Vision quoted on was a 6-page survey. Now, that's interesting because I imagine you could make it 10-point font or you can make it 14-point font and you can get more or less questions in. But they quoted on a 6-page survey. Percy and Company on the telephone, they quoted on a 10-minute interview, a time. And then on the door-to-door thing, it wasn't an issue. The length of the survey wasn't an issue on the door-to-door. But all that's in there, and I'll send it to both you and Sherry, everything I've got on it.
Okay. All right, then we're going to move forward to number 8. And that is to go to executive session for Ascension Parish and Ascension Baseball Association, an ABA claim involving the payment of umpire and reimbursement of concession payment.
Mr. Chairman.
Roll call.
Mr. Chairman, well, we need a motion first. I guess my question would be, Ms. Manda, what exactly is the premise for us going to executive session? I don't see it stated. I mean, you go into the executive session, either we're going to discuss litigation.
No, we're
personal
discussing a
character.
claim. This isn't litigation.
What is it?
This is not litigation. It's a claim, so we don't have a docket number or
Okay,
a
but
court.
why are we going in to discuss a claim? Is that, as far as
Yeah,
that
there's
need-
a basis to go in to discuss a claim.
What's the basis?
And
I
we've
want you
got
to-
finance here.
What's the state? I need you
Whether or
to
not
state
we
it for me.
whether or not we owe the money.
Well, we've already discussed this in public. I mean, I don't understand why we have to go into executive session to discuss that.
Well, that's up to you all.
Well, I just want to be legal. I don't want to get fined down
No,
the road.
and this is perfectly
Well,
legal.
I need you to state the legality part for me.
We're going in to discuss a dispute, a claim.
Dispute of claim,
Yes.
and that is legitimate for
Yes.
executive session.
Yes.
A reimbursement.
Okay. I guess my next comment would be, this is a recreation committee. All we're going to decide is whether it goes to the council or not. So that means we're going to have another executive session if that's what we're doing. Because if we're going in to negotiate, that's something else, and we can't do that. Parish president, he has the authority to do whatever he would like with this situation, and then come to us with a decision. And that's where I'm going. We're a recreation committee. We're not the council. So the council, the full council, is still going to have to make a decision.
Certainly they will.
Correct.
So I don't know why we're going to do it twice.
Well, we want you all to be informed.
Okay.
And that was the major decision right
You
there.
know, Parish President, we talked about this at the last meeting, and that's why we talked about it, and I said, you know, you guys need to negotiate, do whatever you got to do, because you said finance was requiring some things. So,
Well, we can discuss this. I mean, I'm just going to give you what I think should be done in this situation where I think we can settle this entire matter and everything can be put to rest. Basically, what I would think, the claim or we're not going to get enough documentation. Let's just say that.
okay.
That's going to satisfy finance. And finance is not going to pay this claim
Right.
without proper documentation.
Okay.
So we at a standstill again. It's kind of hard to. My recommendation to you, and you can take it for what it's worth, would be to get a list of the projects that ABYA was going to do with this $17,000. Give us this list. We can actually do the work and get the projects done utilizing that money, because we would have to probably do it anyway. So that way everybody hopefully would be happy and this thing could go away. Now if we have to go, I would just tell you, I mean, I just don't see any way unless we get a little more documentation on some of this stuff that it's going to go away. So I don't know what baseball thinks about what I just said. I briefly discussed it with you a little bit earlier. You want to talk about? I mean, y'all mind? I mean, I'm not trying to.
Let Darren talk.
Yeah, and that's why I'm getting at, Parish President. Executive sessions are not used to negotiate. And if we're going to talk about paying off a bill, doing whatever we do, if finance has a rule that they got to have bills, I mean, they got to have receipts, they got to have receipts. If they can't justify the receipts, and we've already stated this in the last two meetings. I mean, so that's what my point was. I don't want to go to an executive session to decide something. Really, administration needs to come to the council, say, this is what I propose. And you can do that. You know, your $10,000 limit is really on professional contracts. It's not on negotiation like this. Now, you do have to come to the council and say, will you approve it? But you're the administrator. You negotiate it.
You don't have to approve anything on this, what I offered you just now. I think we can work this out to a point where it's really not a claim and not anything else. We're just doing what's good for the people in the baseball program.
But I think that negotiation between the administration and Brad.
Well, I think we can talk about that, and certainly that's an option.
Right.
But I don't think legally at this point, and I'm not an attorney. I'm far from being an attorney.
Right, I understand.
But documentation-wise and the burden of proof or whatever, I just, at this point, do not see where we're going to get the proper document. I'm not saying they're not providing documentation. What I am saying is that what's needed from us and from finance, and Ms. LeBlanc may be able to elaborate a little bit more on this than I can.
Right, I understand.
You know, it's going to be hard to settle this stuff. And I can sit here for another year and we can argue about it. And,
right. No, we don't. We want to get. We want to solve this. We want to solve this problem.
Do this, and then we, you know, we're all looking out for the best thing for the parish and for the kids here. If we're going to spend $17,000, let's put it on projects that need to be done, and then be done with.
I agree with you.
But Ms. LeBlanc, I'd like to ask her to elaborate a little more as far as the, you know, her reasons. She's the treasurer.
Okay.
If she pays money that's not substantiated, it's not me or you.
That's
She's
correct.
the one that goes to jail. So according to the charter. So I'll let her. I'll let her represent her position.
Thank you, President Martinez. Yes, you know, our policy has always been that we would never issue a check without proper documentation. There are some exceptions provided for in the Home Rule Charter that states the treasurer shall, and it goes on and lists a bunch of issues that I'm to adhere to, one being to prepare and issue all checks for the parish, permitting no expenditure except those duly authorized in accordance with this charter, parish ordinance, and our applicable state laws. And then the next one says, no money shall be paid out of any parish treasury to any person or legal entity unless the same has been previously allowed by the governing authority or some court or officer lawfully authorized to make the allowance. So I guess in this sense, you know, you by vote can overrule my position.
Mr. Chris Long? I'd just like to say I think parish president's comments and are as a good way to perhaps resolve the situation and settle the dispute in light of the fact that there are no receipts and it's not going to be paid without the possibility of Mr. Blanc going to jail. So I don't think anybody wants to see that, and I think as a committee we can recommend that approach be used.
Well, I like to put my 2 cents in, and according to what we found out on the concession stand, the ordinance has been passed, if I'm not mistaken, and Ms. Lindsay, that we had passed the concession stand, 10% of the concession stand.
I believe it was a resolution, wasn't it, Gwen? Yeah, we did pass it by resolution.
And so the reimbursement that they're asking for that, we had the resolution on books that they paid at 10% of concession stand. And that's one of the reimbursements they are asking for. Now, based on that, the reimbursement for the concession stand is not payable back to them because it was a resolution, and the reimbursement of umpires is the funds they're asking for that they do not have receipt. Once again, if you want to override that, the procedures, that's up to you to recommend that to the council. But, you know, we're always talking about accountability. And here we go again, looking at accountability. They spent money, and don't get me wrong, that organization spent money on their choice without approval from the government body. If they had any documentation from the director or anybody from this committee that gave them authorization to spend that money, then I would be in favor of doing that. But once again, we're talking about accountability. They did something upon themselves, and now they're asking the government to pay for it. You know, that's the way I feel about it. Mr. Miller.
Well, regardless of what's happened in the past, I mean, I think what we talked about earlier with having defining the formal rules and responsibilities between the government and ABA and other organizations will prevent this kind of stuff from happening in the future. You know, but I think regardless, we need to, in this case, authorize the parish president to settle this dispute.
Okay. So.
Yeah, and that's my comment. My comment is, we're the legislative body who set the rules. They play by the rules. It's the parish president's job to negotiate, bring back to us what it is. We're not to decide who gets what except on his recommendation. That's what it is. Now, if we don't like his recommendation, then we can change it at a meeting. But that's how it's supposed to be done. That's why everybody's got different opinions. That's why there's a parish president. That's why he's the administrator. He decides that.
And again, I'm going to yield, and then I want to hear from Ms. Manda again as to what other alternatives we have since we're not going to executive session. Okay.
If we
No, go ahead.
I mean, so we're not going to executive session.
So, well, that's up to y'all.
I didn't say that. I
That's
just
what I'm
said
saying.
I did not see a reason for us to go into executive session. I do not think it's a valid reason. Ms. Manda says she quoted it because of the claim dispute. We can go into executive session. I'm not saying that's yes or no. I'm gonna make my own decision when it comes down to whether I go in there or not.
Ms. Manda, you have the floor. If you can, any legal, time of yield, the floor to you.
And this is concerning,
If you want to go into
it's completely up to council. I spoke with the Assistant Attorney General about open meetings law. It applies to council subcommittees, and we can go into an executive session if we have a 2/3 roll call vote. And it applies to not just litigation, but claims.
Okay. Then we will ask if you want to go into executive session. I need a roll call to go. Roll call. Anybody? Roll call on the going into executive session.
You need a motion. Somebody moved on it yet?
I know nobody did that.
Okay, somebody's got to move to go into executive session. Then you take a roll call.
Correct, Mr. Valentine. No one goes into executive session, so we do not.
Can I have Mr. Brad talk?
Darren Trahan,
Oh, excuse me.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I know we
Sorry.
tossed a bunch of names.
Sorry.
A couple of quick things, I guess, to answer, Parish President. I have to report back to a board, but my report would be, let's say, sit down and talk and see if we can come to an amicable resolution to this matter. Second thing, like clarification based on what was said, if you could for me about the 10% concession. It's off the table because of some resolution. I wasn't aware of that. And third thing, just point of clarification, we're not asking for reimbursement based on payouts that we made. We're asking for return of monies collected for services not provided. That's the big issue. So I don't think that applies from a receipting perspective per the Home Rules Charter. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions on this here? Motion to go into executive session. I mean, no motion to go into executive session. So number item failed to go in that, so we move on to item number 9.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor of adjourn, say aye. Aye.